This is exactly how you're going to save your first 100K coming from somebody that just did it. There are 3 levels to investing, from beginner to extreme. Level 1, investing 10 to 20% of your income. Level 2, investing 20 to 50%. Level 3, investing 50 to 90%. My goal since 21 was to be at level 3. And there's 2 steps I took to get there. 1, cut your costs, and 2, increase your income. And here's how I did both. If you're new here, hi, I'm Asia. I help Canadians get rich in wealth and health, so follow for more. Part 1, ways I cut. Don't lifestyle creep. Always spend less than you make. Now, despite making more money, I didn't inflate my lifestyle. I didn't look for a bigger apartment to live in or spend all this new money on designer bags or lavish trips. My lifestyle stayed pretty much the same. Be lean on cash. I never let my checking account go above $500. Everything I earned went straight into investments, like my TFSA or FHSA, or in a high interest savings account that only held my short-term sinking funds. Keep as little cash as you need. Part 2, ways I increased my income. When I knew I wanted to hit 100K, I literally got another job just for investing. All the income from that one job went directly into my investments. I wouldn't recommend this to everybody, but I was devoted to this target. I started out as a personal trainer and taught fitness classes. Then I wanted to earn faster and improve my sales skills. I invested in a mentor that taught me how to negotiate UGC and brand partnership deals. Comment if you want me to talk about how I picked my mentor. Her accelerator program changed my life. Then I doubled down on UGC and brand deals, 2 very lucrative industries with high demand. I signed up for platforms like #Paid and Breakaway that helped me land partnerships from $1,000 to $18,000. Every time I got paid, I never let that money sit. It came into my business account, I took out the taxes, and then it went directly into my TFSA, not my high interest savings account, because I knew I would be too tempted to take it out if it was in there. Putting it in my TFSA and FHSA made it harder to touch, which forced me to stay committed. Because I increased my income and cut down my costs, over 50% of what I was making every month was going straight into my portfolio. I maxed out both accounts. This is the checklist I use when researching individual stocks and ETFs. Because you got to make sure you're putting your hard-earned money in things that are going to actually give you return. If you want the same checklist, comment template and I'll send it to you right now. The first 100K is always the hardest because you mostly have to save your way to get there. But as you invest and save more money, it takes a lot shorter time to hit your next 200K. You are capable of doing all of this too. So if I had to start all over, I would let that 3-tiered investing system keep me in check and let that guide me. Good luck.
So I reached a 100K net worth when I was 25, but I was 25 5 years ago. If I had to do it all again in today's economy, here's what I would do. Number 1 is I would optimize for cash back. With the way things are going, literally every dollar counts. When it comes to your spending and your saving, you want to make sure you are taking it as far as it can go. What does this mean? You need to have a high yield savings account. So the money you're putting into your savings is earning a little bit of extra interest. I use SoFi for my high yield savings account. And then when it comes to your spending, you want to make sure you're using plugins like Rakuten and that you have a cashback credit card for your highest spend category. So I actually have a credit card where I earn cash back on my groceries. What this does is it just keeps more money in my pocket without me having to do anything extra. Number 2 is I would increase my 401k or retirement contributions by 1 to 2% every year. In 2026, actually, the contribution limits went up. So you need to be taking advantage of this because a 1 to 2% increase towards your retirement is not going to have a really tangible impact on your take-home pay, but it will translate to hundreds of thousands of dollars for retirement in the future. Number 3, I would build out a rock solid zero-based 3-bucket budget. This is the budgeting strategy I've been following ever since I was 24. I wish I started doing it sooner. Essentially, it takes every dollar of income that you're earning and allocates it out towards either an essential expense, a financial goal, or a non-essential expense in that order. What it does is it ensures that every dollar that you're earning has a purpose and you're not treating your savings or your debt payoff as whatever's left over at the end of the month. Number 4 is I would start intentionally tracking my expenses so I could better learn how to spend my money. In my early 20s, I had no idea how to spend. What happened is I ended up wasting a lot of money on things that didn't add any value to my life. Conventional financial advice teaches us how to save. It does not teach us how to spend, but they go hand in hand. So if you're not tracking your expenses, you're probably spending more money than you think. You need to start. And number 5, I would stick to a weekly money routine. A weekly money routine is how you hold yourself accountable to your financial goals. What I do is every Sunday morning, I sit down and I review my zero-based 3-bucket budget by tracking my expenses. And that way I can see how much money I'm spending on certain things and I can make adjustments so that I actually hit my savings targets. Really, when it comes to growing your net worth, regardless of the economy, you want to focus on getting the basics right.
Did you know once you hit $100,000, you're already a third of the way to $1 million? And that's the crazy part about investing is the first $100,000 is the hardest, but after that it snowballs. For example, if you invest $500 a month, it will take you 11 years to get to $100,000. But going from 100,000 to 200,000 only takes 6 years. And going from 900,000 to a million, that only takes 2 years. That's the power of compound interest. The longer you stay invested, the faster your money works for you. And this is in part because when you have more money, it makes more money off of interest. So let's say you have $10. 10% of interest of $10 is $1. But once you have $100,000, that 10% is now $10,000. And that's more than most people can afford to invest in an entire year. So don't quit early. Your future self will thank you. Save this video as a reminder for you to start investing today. And follow for more personal finance tips.
This is how I saved my first $100,000, and this is coming from someone where 5 years ago I was in debt and I had $0 to my name. So my first tip, and this is definitely the biggest one, is increasing your income. So when I was serious about getting my financial shit together, I increased my income through additional side hustles. I started posting on social media, and now this has become my full-time job. My second tip, which is something I do to this day, is budgeting and tracking your spending. I do this meticulously. Doesn't matter how much money I make, I will still continue to do this because it's so important. And my third tip, which is definitely another big one, is making sure that you're increasing your saving ratio while your income is also increasing. So last year, for example, I think I was managing to save about 30% of my income. This year right now, I'm on track to save at least 50%.
I'm going to tell you how I saved 100K by the time I was 24 years old. I wanted to buy a house in my 20s, and the down payment is usually around 20%, so I knew that I needed 6 figures in cash. So here's what I did. Number 1, you've heard of girl math. We don't do that. We do the Mickey Rye rounding system. All expenses are rounded up, and income is rounded down. So if I spend $64 on groceries, in my head, I'm like, that's $100. If I make $1,200 at work, that's actually only $1,000. This basically always ensures that I'm net positive and I have more money than I think I do. Number 2, lower your expenses. Live with a roommate, live with a significant other, live with your parents, whatever you need to do. Those first couple years after I graduated, my expenses were so low. I literally didn't buy anything. There was no TikTok to convince me to buy everything in sight. One blush, one bronzer, one of everything. And even still, I could barely finish using those products. I promise you, you really do not need to buy stuff. Calculate your expenses based on your hourly wage. I used to work at a bakery where I made $8 an hour. That means that in order to buy the new iPhone, which is $1,000, I had to work 125 hours in order to buy that phone. Am I willing to do that? No, so therefore I never bought the newest phone. Number 3, high yield savings account. Don't put your money in a regular bank account where you don't get any interest. These days you get anywhere between 4 to 5% just for having your money in a high yield savings account that works the same way like your regular bank account. Also keeps the money out of sight so that you're not looking at it and thinking you have money to spend. Number 4, increase your income. My stable W-2 job, I know that my income was not going to change there. So I had to get some 1099 contractor jobs. I did everything. I consulted for marketing. I did social media for other people. I also had been creating for a couple of years, so I started to make some money from some sponsorships. I budgeted my life based on my W-2 income. All 1099 went straight to my savings. The biggest mistake people make is that when they make more, they spend more. Make more, spend the same. And then it worked. At 24, I saved 100K and I bought my first house. The more you know about your money, the better it is.
I saved $100,000 in 2 years. Here are 5 slightly unhinged things that I did and still do in order to save money. The last one is a little bit weird, but it works. Welcome to my new series, Catching Up Financially, where I share practical money tips as a millennial who did not start investing until my mid-30s, which meant I had to get serious about money fast. If that sounds like you, make sure that you're following me because we're going to figure out all of this finance stuff together. The first unhinged thing that I will do was compare the price of everything that I wanted to the amount of hours it would take for me to be able to work and purchase that item. So for example, if I wanted something that cost $100 and I was making $30 an hour, I would decide, is this item worth 3 hours of my life to be able to purchase it? Most of the time, the answer was no. And if the answer was no, I keep it pushing. The next thing was that I saved 40 to 50% of my income. Yes, it was very restrictive. I felt uncomfortable, and it also meant that I had to say no to a lot of things. The next thing was that I would add things to my cart and then I'll never check out, because the truth of the matter is that most impulse will expire in 24 hours. 24 hours later, I'm going to forget that I even added to my cart. I'm going to forget that I even wanted it, right? Sometimes my Amazon cart will be like $1,000 and I'm like, I'm never checking out. Next thing is that I would write and budget every penny. And I was doing this on a daily basis. And budgeting is important. Doing it on a daily basis was a little bit crazy. But I needed to know exactly where all of my money was going because I needed to direct it towards saving and investing. Because when you are starting late in this finance game, you need to be strategic and you need to be intentional. Because the truth of the matter is awareness changes behavior. This is why I always stress making sure that if you're in debt, you got to look at that debt. Be aware of your debt. What did you buy? What did you do? Be aware, because hopefully that with that awareness is going to change your behavior. You're going to be disgusted at yourself. And the last and the weird one that I used to do was that whenever I wanted to spend money, I would put on a YouTube Hoarders episode, or I would watch a Netflix documentary on overconsumption. Yes, very weird, but it worked. Nothing kills the impulse to shop than the Hoarders episode. I would be like, no, I don't need that. I do not need one more item in my house, because if I continue buying, I will eventually end up like this. Put on that Hoarders episode, the impulse is gone. Done. Now, all of this slightly unhinged things that I did isn't meant to be done forever. It's meant to help me be very intentional about my spending. So if you're in your 30s and you're trying to build wealth a little bit later than you planned, make sure that you're following me so we can just figure out all of this thing together.
I am 27 years old and I currently have a net worth that is over 100K. Was it easy? No. Is it possible? Can you do it? Yes. And I'm gonna give you some tips that I just feel like people just like, come on, listen up. And I just want to say I am not a financial advisor, so take everything that I say and do your own research. Consult with someone that you trust, but I'm just hoping that things that I've done, it will give you a jump start into getting your financial life and situation together. Open up a Roth IRA, specifically one with Fidelity, Schwab, Vanguard. I personally love Fidelity, but you can pick one with Fidelity, Schwab, Vanguard. Pick a brokerage. They're called brokerages. So pick a platform, pick a brokerage, pick the Roth IRA option, fill out your information, link your bank. You done it. You did it. Now, once you open it up, which I feel like is just the first hurdle, you got to pick investments. And specifically, pick ETFs or mutual funds. Now, when I was trying to decide what ETFs I wanted to pick, I went on Reddit. And Reddit, literally, if you just type in ETFs to put in Roth, you will see a consistent theme of people suggesting the same thing. So that's what I just did. You know, I picked what people were talking about. I mean, granted, I also did a little bit of my research, but most likely people are going to suggest VOO, SCHD. Fidelity has their own version of the S&P 500. Just, if anything that is the S&P 500, just pick that. And you don't have to make it complicated. Don't make it complicated. That's what I did wrong when I was first starting. I made it really too complicated. Don't make it complicated. Just pick one. Pick one for now. And then once you feel comfortable and you feel like, all right, I'm going to like really spice it up, then you can go ahead and do more. But just pick one. Specifically the S&P 500. Anything that tracks that, pick that. And invest. So even if you have $20, $5, baby, even if you got $1, just put it in there. You literally have a certain limit that you have to reach. So every year, this year, 2024, the limit is $7,000. If you can make it to $7,000, beautiful. If you can't, but you contribute $500, $1,000, whatever, that's something. That's more than what a lot of people put into their retirement account. So just put in as much as that you are willing to afford. And you, by putting it in the stocks will, the ETFs, all that stuff will make it grow. It's all compounding. You're going to grow. It's going to grow. It's going to keep going, and it's going to snowball. And if you just don't look at it and look back, you'll see like in like 20 something years, oh shit, my $500 turned into $5K or $50, who knows? Another thing that helped me reach my net worth goal was opening up an high yield savings account. I don't know why I stuttered or I paused, I glitched. You can open one with Discover, Ally. I personally have one with Discover, Wealthfront. If you need a code to Wealthfront, let me know, because I can hook you up with a good APY. But Wealthfront, there's Capital One. There's a lot of good banks out there that are high yield savings. And the only thing about high yield savings is that it's an online account. So if you have cash on you, that can be a little, sometimes you got to go to like Walmart, you have to go to a CVS to deposit the money. But either way, a lot of my money is in my high yield savings. You want to make sure that you have a good nest eggs. I don't want you to just go ahead and invest without having that nest egg saved and good for, you need something for emergencies. So definitely put your money that you have been putting in your savings into a high yield savings so that it's making more money and it's making more of a return while you let it sit there. Duh. I'm fortunate enough to work at a company that gives me stock, and I'm in their ESPP program. So one thing that I've done is I've contributed to the maximum. So you can contribute from 1% to 10%. I let them take 10% of my check and I contribute. And once I'm granted those stocks, those ESPP, I don't sell it. A lot of people start selling it. No, I don't sell it. I still have them from this day that I started working there, and I'm going to continue to keep holding on to them. And they have grown so much. They have grown so much over the past 5 years, and I intend on holding on to them until I desperately need to like cash out. But I hold on to my ESPP. I don't sell them. I also contribute to my 401k. That is, I know, depending on, you know, certain people's situation, there are some jobs that match you, there's some that don't. My job, they match me, and so I match only up to the limit that they match. I'm not being extra with that, but I think they match me up to 6%, and that's what I do. I just do only up to 6%, and I also make sure to put that money, make sure that it's invested in an ETF that follows the S&P 500. I can go into depth into other things, or if you want me to go into depth into the things that I discussed, but as just an overview, those are the things that I have done. Those are the things that I recommend that people do if they can. And honestly, it's not even about, oh, I don't have money, or I'm not rich, or whatever. I'm not rich either. My salary is not even close to a lot of the rich people that they make, but I've been able to aggressively save and aggressively put money aside and just really prioritize my future self and wanting that vision to be able to live a stress-free retirement life, you know? So that's what I do. I can talk more about it, and I love talking about it, but if you need help in setting up anything or whatever, definitely DM me, definitely put a comment, and I can make more videos on this. But if anything, open up a Roth and move your money to a high yield. That should be your first two things that you do right now.
I saved my first 100K at the age of 23, 2 years after graduating from college, and here's how. So the first thing is paying yourself first. This is a concept where for every dollar that you earn, you are saving or investing a portion of it. So throughout my life, I've had different jobs. I've had multiple jobs at the same time. And each time I always made sure that a vast majority of what I was earning was going to my savings account or going to investments, so that whatever was left over, I could spend freely. But more importantly, to make sure that I was always prioritizing myself and always saving and investing first. Since it's a lesson that I learned when I wasn't making as much, as I started to increase my income, it meant that I continued to do this. And so I think that learning practices while you're younger or when you're earning less is very helpful, because when you start to earn more, it means that you don't really detract from these habits that you've developed. So paying yourself first is one of the biggest ones. Next is investing. I talk about investing a lot on this page, or at least I used to. And with investing, I've been doing it for over 10 years now. It is the reason that I have really any money at this point in time, because my money has multiplied through investing in the stock market. And it is one of the best decisions, if not the best decision financially, that I've ever made in my life, and one that I hope everybody else makes as well. The decision to invest will change your life. The last factor, and this is one that I learned in college and I still practice today, is I just learned to say no. So when it comes to going on vacations or going to restaurants or whatever it is, things that cost money that were outside of my budget or outside of what I had planned, I learned to just say no. And so it got a lot easier throughout time by just focusing on what was important to me and the goals that I had set out, and knowing that if I were to exceed my budget in any way, that it was going to put me further away from my goals. And so learning to say no was fundamental in helping me save money and also prioritize my personal finances. And that is something that I would pass on to all of you. And so those are the 3 tips that helped me save 100K by 23. Hopefully this was informative. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please let me know.
Everyone says the first 100K is the hardest, and they're right, but not for the reason that you think. Here's what it actually feels like. You're putting your money into an account every single month, and you scroll past people talking about compound interest and how your money makes all this money, and you open up your account and you're like, well, this doesn't actually look like it's working. And it's because in the beginning, your money is not doing all the heavy lifting, you are. If you put in $500 a month and your portfolio grows at 7% per year, at year 5, you've only put in $30,000 and your portfolio may have grown to $34,000. That's less than $5,000 in actual growth. And the people that actually reach 100K are doing 3 very boring and powerful things. Number 1, they pick a place to actually put the money, 401k, Roth IRA, regular investment account, and they stay consistent with it. Number 2, they automate everything. And number 3, they become obsessed with their income and their contribution rate and increasing those as much as possible. And here's why the first 100K is such a big deal. After you cross that threshold, the math actually starts helping. If you're under 100,000 right now, that doesn't mean it's not working. That just means you are in the least rewarding part of the game that you're playing in wealth building.
If this is on your FYP, then it means you are ready to stop living paycheck to paycheck and start getting rich for real. And in this video, I'm going to show you guys how I saved my first 6-figure bank account in my 20s when I started out making only $50,000 a year. Now, before we get into it, you need to start training the algorithm to show you more content that actually builds you wealth instead of makes you spend. Because TikTok wants you as a consumer, okay? That's how they make money, through TikTok Shop. But I want you to think like the rich, and I want you to start getting rich every time you open this app. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to like this video, you're going to save this video, and you're going to comment 5 words for the algorithm. The first thing that I had to do to save my first 6 figures in my 20s was understand the rules of the rich. My goal was 100K by 30 years old. It wasn't just to have it, it's because I knew that if I had that number by 30 years old and I had it invested, it could grow to over $1 million without me ever putting in another dollar. But I didn't just say, okay, I'll save 100K one day. I broke it down. I reverse engineered it. What would I need to put away every paycheck for that to happen? And what are the best places for me to put that money so that it could grow and work harder for me? And that's what I teach my students, right? To take your big goal and break it down into smaller, more manageable, bite-sized pieces. Let's say you wanted to save $1,000 for your baby emergency fund. That $1,000 when you're starting from zero feels like a lot. But if you break it down, that's only $33 a day. $1,000 feels overwhelming, $33 feels manageable. And when something feels manageable, you're more likely to do it. Once I had the numbers of what I needed to do, I automated everything. Every time I got paid, money moved without me having to think about it. And even if it felt uncomfortable, I always stretched the amount. Like what I always tell my students is, say you're comfortable with 200, well, let's try to stretch it to 250. Push yourself, because wealth doesn't happen inside your comfort zone. I wasn't just saving, I was investing. Because the average return of the stock market, 10% a year. But while I was working my 9 to 5, my money was also clocking in. The rich think in trade-offs. So what did I do? I tracked my spending, but I didn't just put like food or entertainment. I got specific. Was this Uber Eats because I was too tired to cook? Was it for a friend's birthday? And then I asked, was it worth it? Is there somewhere else I could have put this money to get more happiness out of every dollar I spent? If you want to learn more about the strategies to saving your first 6-figure bank account, I have a free training called 30 Days to 100K. You can go and grab your spot, link in bio under freebies.